In the previous part, we worked on animate diff, right? I think it would be good to take a closer look at the settings and details of animate diff. First of all, I think it would be helpful to also show you how to modify the workflow in the media art course that I previously uploaded to the ClassU lecture. Let's see. First, for the animate diff checkpoint, let's set it back to this checkpoint here. I've tried various tests, but unless you add a checkpoint in the cloud, it's better to just use this checkpoint as the base. When you're using animate diff, it would be nice if there was something like Juggernaut or something else. When using this checkpoint, you need to select the LCM model. Next, if you look at the bottom here, you'll see that there's also a scheduler. Just like with KSampler, all these schedulers are available here as well. So if we look from the top, the one labeled auto is an automatic processing method, but it's not really used much. Exciting adds a bit more variety to the changes, but for animate diff, the third option was actually the most suitable. And this linear option is a version used when applying the SDXL checkpoint, so it's not compatible with the current version. The same goes for hotshot. Although it's SDXL, it's primarily meant to be used specifically when ControlNet is actively applied, so it's generally not suitable for other scenarios. This particular method is thoughtfully designed for achieving faster, more efficient quality, and the LCM AVG variant is specifically made for an even faster quality output, providing significant speed improvements. LCM itself is a remarkably lightweight model, originally created to significantly speed up the basic processing pipeline, and these additional options were further developed for even greater enhanced speed, so I simply skipped over them during my initial review. That's precisely why a more improved and refined processing method, known as LCM, was subsequently introduced. Originally, I used to frequently select this LCM option quite a lot due to its benefits. The rest of the various options presented below are also just different alternative settings, but they're mostly just differences in the underlying processing method and overall speed, so I hardly ever use them in practice. If you genuinely want to study these intricate settings in much greater detail, you can easily press Windows plus Shift plus S to capture the screen and then ask GPT to thoroughly explain the specific values and their implications. That would indeed be a very good and effective way to study and understand them. Next is the context option, which is quite important. The context language is based on a sequence of 16 frames. This is just a fundamental setting primarily used when looping, so I previously said I usually use it as is without much modification. Then if you want to do something extra and more advanced here, as clearly shown in the video, there's a specific and effective way to handle noise, which can significantly improve results. For example, right now, I'll set this to 32 frames and set this one to 16 frames. Then you will certainly get a 2-second video. Next, there are 11 crucial steps, including CFG, ELCM, and then SGM uniform. Let's try generating it. I'm keeping the seed fixed. The generation process has now started, and for the prompt, instead of using this particular one, I will use this instead. Lotus flower. I've added things like micro photography and realistic photography. Once it's done, I'll generate it again. Since it's 16 frames, if you set the seed to random here, the image will keep changing for each frame. You'll see a lot of drastic changes. If you fix it, it will come out almost the same every time. Next, in videos, there are also ways to handle noise and things like that. Animate diff is one of the video processing methods, and in a way, CFG was also a kind of video processing method. There are settings for those things, but in the animate diff input slot, you can remove the sampling setting, like this. I'll show you again. This is the sampling setting. It's the primary sample setting. I will now carefully reconnect the vibrant green wire and the bright yellow wire precisely in this manner. This is a node that handles the processing method. If you zoom in a bit, you'll see that default is the basic value, and then there are things like constant, MT, and so on. I've captured the processing methods for these here as well. Basically, there are noise removal methods and things like that. If you do it this way, starting from GPT version 5.1, use it in instant response mode. Almost 10 million people in our country pay for ChatGPT, so if you want to study this thoroughly, of course it's better to use GPT. It's much better. Constant forces the use of complete noise. Forcing the same noise too rigidly can make the animation stiff or cause the movement to become blurry, but that's probably for producing almost fixed videos. This method is actually the most commonly used one, MT noise that is, because it's good for creating smooth videos. That's why MT was used the most. If you watched the first class of ClassU's media art before, that was also done with MT. Because it processes noise in a smoother way, MT was used a lot. But in ClassU, they use a slightly different method. I think it would be better to do it this way. I think using this would be much better. It's a contextual repetitive noise method, where the noise in the image frames is reused as much as possible. So since the very last frames are made to be almost identical, and we only have one motion LoRa right now, we can't really use a lot of motion LoRas. So I think it's actually more suitable to use this method instead of that one. So whether you use MT or this method, just go with whichever you prefer. Next, below, I have something completely different. This noise is totally random and chaotic, which would be good for making really complex, hectic videos, right? Like this. It's being generated smoothly like this. Excellent. When using Animate Diff like this, you don't really need to know a lot more. Just knowing this much is enough. Just do it this way, and if you want to switch to random, let's take a look at the frames. If we're going to use random, we should probably generate about 160 frames, right? We need to check how much context retention and resilience this setting has, so let's test it out. The video is out now. It's nice that even with 160 frames, there isn't much change. That's good. Not bad. So at ClassU, we actually recommend using this. Next, for example, let's say we set it to 32. We set it to 32 frames, and here it's set to 16 frames. So since it's 16 times 2, that's double, so you get a 2-second video. You can set the loop count at the bottom. Let's say you set the loop count to 5. So since it's 2 seconds times 5, you get a 10-second video. That's why these settings are mainly used in Video Combine as well. Since 15 had the highest quality based on MP4, I mentioned that 15 or 19 are used most often. And when it comes to loop count, if you want to create a looping video that repeats continuously, it's tough and tedious to keep connecting the clips in video editing, right? That's why if you look at it in Open Preview like this, since it's multiplied by 5, it comes out to 12 seconds. Looking at it, it's 12 seconds because you have the original included, plus 5 more loops are added, so 5 more times are included, making it 12 seconds. You can just download it. If you set it to 10, then of course this time it would be multiplied about 11 times. That's basically the concept you should keep in mind. Run. But now the speed is the same. When you create it at 32 frames, it goes in at the same speed. But here, it automatically edits and gives you only the output. So when creating looped videos, this method is often used. Since you already know this well, I think it would be good to try using it while you're at it. Click the right mouse button and open the preview. The save preview isn't applied, and it's exactly 22 seconds as intended. Just as planned, right? And as I mentioned before, Animate Diff works with 512. It processes in pixel units. The reason is that the AI was trained well at about this pixel size. So what should you do with the output that's been rendered? I always tell you to upscale it using something like Video Pro, something very similar to upscaling. For those who might have missed exactly where to do the upscaling, allow me to explain once more in detail. If you go to my dedicated AI creation YouTube channel, there's a specific post located here. If you carefully scroll down this particular post, I've conveniently included a direct link to the Essential Video program. You can easily download the powerful upscaler from that location. Just try out the completely free trial version. I previously mentioned that you can usually upscale your images with this powerful tool, right? I've already put the impressive result on my desktop. Please make sure to always do the upscaling process here. Increase the resolution like this, and then just drag in your video. The more you upscale, the clearer and sharper the video will naturally become. This is especially true for Animate Diff. Should we try multiplying by 4? Right, this seems to be about the maximum. As for models, I mostly use Real Smooth and Gen Detail. Real Smooth is used when you want to make things smoother, while Gen Detail is for enhancing details and sharpness. So when you want to increase clarity, Gen Detail is often used. Also, there are many other upscaling tools besides these, so it's not that the 512 output is small. Just think of it as something you can upscale multiple times and use, and doing it this way actually gives you better expressive power and makes the work process superior. It's better to do it like this. Of course, you could work with 1000 pixels or 720 by 1280 frames, but on the cloud, working in 500 pixel increments seems to be a bit more efficient. Because, for example, let's try setting this to 1080 by 1080. Actually, let's try 720 by 1280. 720 by 1280 is a 9 to 16 ratio, right? That's the shorts ratio used for YouTube and Instagram. Let's give it a try. I think only 2 skewers will show up since it's so big. Right, you see 2 of them, one above and one below. Since it's over 1000 pixels, if you want to have 2 of them spinning around, you can set it up like this. Or instead of this, you could use dimensions like 420 by 800 or 450 by 800, or even something like 512 by 869 or 872. Those kinds of sizes work too. Once everything is done, just close it like this. See how the folder is sparkling? That means the upscaling is finished. So if you look at it, the image quality is quite good since it's been upscaled by 4 times. It's excellent, right, at this level. Next, if you right-click and go into Properties to check the dimensions, you can see it's set to 2048 pixels, which is 4K. That's how you use it, right? This is good too. Anyway, I think I'll go with 512 like this. Next, I'll show you how to modify the workflow from the previous lectures. The reason is most people have a workflow and work with it, but the problem is they can't make modifications. For example, let's say you brought in the Animate Diff Media Art workflow after the class. But this is on the cloud, right? On the cloud, the checkpoints and all the settings are different from what you do in Colab, so you have to set everything up again, right? So if you just try to run it as is, it won't work because there are no checkpoints or models. First, LoRa. We don't have LoRa. This LoRa doesn't exist here. So we don't use this one. That's why we're using this checkpoint here, which has LoRa built in. This checkpoint right here. You can leave this as it is, and then we're also using the Animate Diff Legacy model here. The Legacy model is a slightly older version, but with this one, you can adjust the motion scale to make the movement faster or slower. Usually, I set it to a scale of 1 or 1.15 like this. If you set it to 0.5, it becomes really slow and the colors become very dull. Do the same here and you can see that it's set to LCM, right? Since it's an LCM checkpoint, these settings are appropriate. You can see that there's no shutter, animate, dip, run, or ADMA. I mentioned earlier that I use this animate, rolling right, but you can try using other options as well. Here you see things like left, right, and so on written here. Basically, that's what it is. Let me try clicking it. Then you just do it like this, and that's it. It's done, executed. So you can load the workflow, go through it step by step, and if something doesn't work or there's a problem, you can identify and fix those issues as you go. You need to know how to do that. That's right. Ah, a cat appeared. That's right. It comes out well, doesn't it? There are countless possibilities. That's how I did it. So I'll wrap up this part here.